All right, I got 201, 202. I think this is probably about time to get started with our second virtual coffee chat. So I'd like to say thank you, everyone, for chiming in. And we're going to talk a little bit about strength and endurance today. And there's a lot more to it than what I'm going to go over, but it's just a little breather. So if you'd like some more information on that, please get a hold of me, and I'll get back to that here in just a little bit. Um, so getting started, I'd like to share, we were talking about the 5 components of health-related fitness. We talked about flexibility last time. And this week, we're going to talk about muscular strength and endurance. Before I get into that, though, I do want to make a differentiation. I am a doctor, but I'm a PhD, and my specialty is in preventive care, nutrition, stress management, fitness, and those kinds of things. I don't prescribe medicine. That's what medical doctors do, MDs and DOs. They have a completely different form of profession and practice and expertise. But both of us could work extremely well together. But my goal is to help you live healthy and well so you don't have to necessarily see a medical doctor. So we're here for a quarter hour of wellness power, and we're going to have a Q&A at the end of the program. So I would like to say thank you very much for Kangaroo Coffee for sponsoring the coffee chat. And with that, let's get after some information. What we here have first, though, is we do have a disclaimer. If you're not physically fit or you haven't been really active, I would encourage you to talk with a physician, maybe get an annual physical, and make sure that you're in good health before you start any kind of physical activity program. So take that into consideration, if you would, please. Now, believe it or not, there's 3 different kinds of muscle. There's skeletal muscle, which we're going to talk about today in detail, and that's the kind of tissue that's under your conscious control. So when I say bicep contract, it does that. Or when I say tricep contract, that's what happens. But there's different types of muscle also. There's smooth muscle, and that's under our autonomic nervous system. That's under unconscious control, things like digesting food, your intestines, and all that. And then there's cardiac muscle, which is heart tissue. We're not going to cover any of those. We're going to talk mostly about skeletal muscles today. So what is muscular strength and what is muscular endurance? Again, they both involve muscular activity, but here on the left, we've got a gentleman, 31 years old. He lifted 1,100 pounds with a deadlift. That's some serious muscular strength right there. And then on the other hand, we've got a gentleman, 62 years of age, that he planked, if you know what that is, for over 8 hours without stopping. I go 5 seconds and I'm already starting to shake with planking. So these people are studs for sure. But examples of muscular strength and endurance in a professional setting, if you will. So, well, what exactly is a muscle? Here in the picture on the right is actually a muscle, a big muscle belly. And you can see that it's diverted into smaller and smaller elements, the fascicula, and then you can actually get down into the sarcomere, which is the contractile element of a muscle fiber. And just imagine a bunch of sarcomeres back to back. And when they contract, that's what causes a muscular contraction. And muscles can only contract, they can't extend. So like I said, when my bicep contracts, my arm comes forward. And when my tricep contracts, my arm extends. Now, one thing I do want to mention about muscles is muscles are made primarily of protein. And that's from the protein that we eat. And protein is made up of what's called amino acids. There's 20 of them. And 9 of them, though, you have to get from your diet. Those are called essential. And those essentials are primarily found in dark meats, animal products, red meats, and things like that. They're not as common in vegetable-based products, but they're still there. Now, if you're not getting all your essential amino acids, our bodies are constantly aging. We're constantly metabolizing and wearing down. So we constantly need to replenish our protein. And if you can do that through your diet, things are good. But if you don't get all your essentials through your diet, your body still must have those. And it actually does something that's called catabolism. The body eats itself and recycles these proteins. You've probably heard of cannibalism, where people eat other people. All right, that's not what we're doing, but catabolism, the body actually eats itself. And when this occurs, it can cause internal stress or inflammation. And we really don't want the body to recycle protein. We want to eat quality proteins to do that. And one thing I do want to point out is true vegans, not vegetarians, but true vegans, those that don't eat animal products, dairy, eggs, anything like that, you do really have to be very careful to ensure that you get all your essentials. And you can do that by mixing a bean with a grain. So something like red beans and rice would be a great a vegan choice to get all that. And being we're in the car business, I want to point out something. Everyone take a look at this muscle cell. It sure looks like how a steel belted radial is designed. And so, I got a feeling whoever came up with steel belted radials was looking at a muscle belly before he got that patent. So I thought that was kind of cool to point that out. So in the next section, I told you that skeletal tissue is under conscious control. Well, how do we control that? Well, it's a motor unit that actually does that. And in the picture there, you can see that a motor unit is actually a single nerve fiber and all the muscle fibers that it innervates. And not all muscle fibers get innervated at the same time. You actually have slow twitch fibers that are innervated at lower levels for like the endurance element. And then you have fast twitch fibers, which require additional recruitment. And the thing about motor units is that what causes them to work or not is 100% based on the amount of resistance that occurs. So the more weight or the more resistance that you have to overcome, the more motor units are going to be recruited. And it's kind of interesting, the difference between the two. If you've ever seen dark meat in a chicken, that's your that's your slow twitch type 1. And the white meat in a chicken, the breast meat, is actually the fast twitch. And the difference is how the tissue is actually fed. The slow twitch is more aerobically based, and the fast twitch is more power or anaerobically based. So one thing I do want to mention is that when a muscle fatigues, additional motor units are not recruited. Your muscle contractions, either has to slow down or stop to do that. And that's a real significant point I'd like to point out, is that additional motor units aren't recruited unless you add more weight. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. Now, here's the true definitions of muscular strength and endurance, and you can read those for yourself. But here's our guy lifting that 1,100 pounds of the mountain. This is just an incredible lift. And I would say that that's muscular strength, absolutely. Look at that, wow. And with muscular endurance, we've got Floyd Mayweather sitting on speed on a heavy speed bag. And here's an example of muscular endurance, but it's basically repeated contractions for an extended period of time. And you can train both of those systems. And let's show you how to do that. Now, wow, look at that, man. Those guns can't be outlawed, I tell you what. Now, muscular strength, it could be picking up a big old bag of dirt and throwing it in the truck. It could be untightening a lug nut. But one thing I do want to point out is muscular strength is also part of the fight or flight response. And what that is it's kind of like an all or none principle. Before we became domesticated and everything, we were fighting for our lives. And when you got scared, you were running from the big bear or whatever's chasing you, you're going all out. And that's an example of muscular strength also. So, examples of some other things, we got some muscular endurance coming up here. And muscular endurance could be playing with your kids, although that could be muscular strength too. It could be spreading around that 50 pounds of dirt that I just made reference to. But it could also be fun things like climbing Manitou Incline, playing tennis, chopping wood, cutting grass, a variety of these things. So you can see how they're kind of symbiotic. They work together. They're not mutually exclusive by any means. Well, how do you actually train for that? Now, I'd love for the opportunity to set anybody up on a fitness program, whether it's strength training, endurance training, or whatever it may be. But you manipulate the muscle systems by changing your sets and your repetitions and the amount of weight that you lift. And you can see some examples there of how to do that. But one thing I would like to point out is whether you're lifting for muscular strength or muscular endurance, you really should reach what we call muscle failure. And that's the last 1 or 2 repetitions that you're doing. You're giving it almost everything you got to make that happen. And that's how you really train the system. Believe it or not, it gives feedback. If you've ever felt the muscle burn from doing an activity, that's giving feedback to your brain to say, hey, look, we're getting used. I need to regenerate. I need to strengthen this system up. And that's what we do with fitness training. So kind of a little summary. I know I've gone over quite a bunch of stuff, but muscular strength and endurance are both very important. They can help to fight osteoporosis. In fact, weight training is an extremely good thing for women to help reduce osteoporosis because they're more susceptible to that than men are. And here's kind of a funny word, sarcopenia. That's called age-related muscular loss. And by lifting weights, we can slow that down. And basically, that reduces the becoming frail and so forth when you get older. Real quickly, we talked about flexibility last time. Stretching is a great way to kind of warm up, but I wouldn't stretch a cold muscle. We talked about the static stretch last week. And I'd also like you to consider maybe functional fitness and maybe some of these core exercises that are becoming more and more popular as a great way to warm up for your routine. I think I mentioned that if you want to talk to your physician, please do that to make sure that you don't hurt yourself when you're trying to get physically fit. And then again, there's my contact information. I'd love to work with anybody that has an interest in developing a fitness program. So if you have a couple questions, I've seen we got some things in the chat room, in the chat box. I'll answer those here in just a minute in our little Q&A session. And then we're going to send you a survey, and I'd love to get some feedback. And then next week, we're going to talk about body composition. The following week is going to be aerobic conditioning. And then week 5, we're going to put all this stuff together because the idea is we want your health and wellness to go to a point where you have a great quality of your life in your 60s, 70s, and 80s. So with that, a couple more things. Like us, we have a new Healthy Habits Facebook page. It's pretty cool. We got some great stuff up there. And then we're also in a sponsorship with Trails In Trailblazers. Every Wednesday from 5:30 to 8:30, you can log on and kind of accrue any activity that you've done over the week. So once a week, you can qualify. And we've got additional information on some of that stuff and how to interact with that. But it's every Wednesday from 5:30 to 8:30 to sign in. And that stated, you can do your activity anytime during the week, but you sign in during that time under our little filled on guys. So we've got a couple of questions. I guess should I eat more protein if I wanted to build muscular strength or whey? Well, there's a whey protein. If you've ever heard of curds and whey, that's kind of whey protein used to be a waste product that they got rid of, and it's really bitter, but it's very full of protein. And that's what a lot of your protein powders are made out of. Not all whey protein has all the essential amino acids. In fact, here's one, muscle milk. A lot of people drink muscle milk. I have a diet analysis that I can analyze, and muscle milk doesn't have any essential amino acids in it. It's got protein, and they can put it on the folder or on their can, but they don't have any essential amino acids in there. So that really doesn't help you with that catabolism element that I was talking about. All right, I think we got one. Got one of, if I lift a lot of weights, will I bulk up? And the answer to that is no. A lot of women are worried about bulking up, and that doesn't really happen. That's related a lot to testosterone and some other things. But even if you lift for strength, you're not going to get muscular. A good trainer should integrate a combination of strength training and endurance training into that. But I know that that's a major concern for women especially. And we can train without getting you bulked up, that's for sure. Any other questions? Well, I tell you what, I really appreciate y'all chiming into the coffee chat today. We had a quarter hour of wellness power. It looks like it's about 2:15 right now. We're going to try to keep these short and sweet. But if you have any questions that you'd like to send to me during the week, don't hesitate. It's SUHALT@phillong.com. I thank you for your time. And if you like what you saw, please invite your friends next week because this is a lot of fun. We're getting excited about bringing you more and more wellness each and every week. So thank you for coming to the virtual coffee chat. We'll see you next week.